out of your hive. I've found the queen. I see that this new hive is starting to accept some of the new cells. I'm done with what I came here to do, so in order to kill the least number of bees accidentally and to let them back to their business of bee stuff, I'm going to put their house back together and leave them alone. This frame was oriented this way.
Yes.
Try and put it back the way it was so that they can be as familiar with how it was, and their comb fits right back together, and maybe it'll help them be that much more comfortable in here so they can do their thing a little more efficiently. And here's that big frame. You can see that guy with his pollen right there. Even though he has pollen to put in a pollen cell,
Oh, that one.
he's drinking honey right now. He kind of aborted the idea of putting his pollen away and started drinking honey. I'm assuming that's because
You smoked him.
I smoked him. There's a lot of pollen gathering going on, which, by what I've read so far, hopefully that's a sign that they need that pollen to feed young babies. And while I didn't really look for eggs this time, I'm assuming they're in there, and I'm just going to put this back together as quickly as possible to not have disturbed them too much. The reason I'm assuming the eggs are in there is because they have a healthy queen. They're drawing comb in the new frames, and they're gathering pollen, which typically they feed to the young. Go right back. Normally I would smoke around the edge of a full hive. It would just start to spill over with bees. And you don't want to squish them, but there's so few bees in here. They have plenty of room to go elsewhere. This frame isn't perfectly square, so they all kind of fit a certain direction. I didn't make them. Put it back on, and our great southern Nevada wind preventative measure. I didn't use my new frame grabber. Noticed this when I came out here the other day. It was a fresh hole. I filled it in. It looks like whatever it was in there started digging it out again. I don't know what it is.
You want your smoker?
Yeah, I'll get it. Got my stuff ready over here. I have this one oriented the opposite of the other, just maybe to help the bees know the difference between the two. Not that they necessarily need that, but it doesn't hurt to help keep hives from leaking back and forth. These guys know theirs is pointed a certain direction. They have that ability. They have an internal north direction indicator internally. They know which way is north, so if you orient one box differently than another, helps them to identify a home. This one has a little propolis stuck to it, which is unusual. We expected that from that hive. It was stronger when I put that nuke in there. It was stronger. Actually have some burr comb on the inner cover of this one. I actually expected more of that from the other hive. This one I didn't intersperse the frames between the frames that were the nucleus, only because it didn't seem as strong, and the queen had not eaten her, or they hadn't eaten the queen out of the cell that she came shipped in. The candy cork was still partially intact. I had to break it myself after a week. So I assumed this was going to be a little bit weaker hive to start. But they're doing things differently than the other hive as far as building burr comb on the inner cover.
Yeah, on top.
This frame right here is part of the nucleus, And I intentionally, you know, loaded the nucleus with good frames and the new queen. But this frame is even
Holy cow.
more than it was when I put it in here. That's nothing but honey.
Wow.
Both sides, full top and bottom. And you see these guys in there, the cells that are still open, they're in there drinking.
Drinking.
And I'm just gonna slide these over and leave them in there. Just looking for the queen again. It's my only deal for being in here so soon after I created this box. Make sure she's still alive. Now I see some larvae.
Oh, is that what those are?
Yeah, these are
The round
these
top
are all,
ones?
These are all going to be worker bees. Here's one that's partially open.
Ah.
I'll go ahead and open it the rest of the way just to show you the larvae in there.
Cool.
Let's see if I can see some eggs on this one.
Now the dark brown is propolis, isn't it?
Up, you'll see that around the edge right here.
Yeah.
This darker stuff. The cells themselves that are dark, the reason they're dark is because they're old. This was drawn years ago.
Oh.
And so just from use, you're seeing it, little bee footprints, dirty feet, marking it up. This is primarily a brood frame, or where they're going to put their eggs. And I don't see any eggs. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, they're all full. I had to get the light just right. These are full of eggs. This queen is in here and laying, because these eggs that I see right now are brand new.
Oh, this one's going to fall out on this side.
What?
Careful. That one that you opened, it started to pop out.
The one that I opened?
The one that you
It doesn't
finished.
matter. It either will or it won't. There's thousands more. And there's our beautiful southern Nevada wind kicking up. There's the queen. I'm expecting to see her on this one, I was about to say, and there she is.
There she is.
And she's a laying fool right now. That whole frame on this side you couldn't see, the cells that weren't capped over had eggs in them. They will be capped over shortly. So she's doing her job and appears to be happy, and they appear to be happy with her, because they haven't started any new queen cells that I can see. I'm gonna go one more frame on this, even though I don't need to. Kind of go against what I just said, but
This
just
little
wanna
guy's drinking like
I
crazy.
just want to see if there's more eggs in here. I got a lot of honey and a lot of pollen in this one.
Oh, you got a ton of bees on the other side.
I don't see any. Pollen and honey. Oh well. I know she's got that one frame full of eggs, so let's let her go back
That's
to work.
great.
And I'm not going to take it out, but this one right here is being drawn completely with honey, like the first one we saw. And that seems to be typical, at least that I've seen in these hive boxes out here. Is they'll kind of create a little brood area in the lower frames in the lower hive box, and then the outer ones become more and more honey, less and less brood. These are untouched, and we'll just let them do their thing. I'll check them in a week and see. This foundation is a plastic insert. It's covered with a microfilm, if you will, kind of a real fine layer of actual beeswax that's melted and sprayed on them. It's supposed to help them accept those frames as a foundation for them to draw their own comb onto, and then again use as brood comb or honeycomb.